And we're live, whether we like it or not. It's the Mindstate Marketing Hour with Will Leach. Will Leach, he's the author of a book with a new look. Marketing the Mind States, the practical guide to applying behavior design to research and marketing. If you haven't read this book, you're missing out. Your messaging is a one-size-fits-all. And if you go to a place and you buy your underwear at a one-size-fits-all, you know it's not going to be pretty.
Bad things happen when you do that.
Same with your marketing message. You want it to fit right for the audience. So use science to connect better to your clients. Will, how are you, sir?
Doing well today. How are you, my friend?
I was just sitting here, just all proud. I had everything tuned in, ready for the show, not realizing that I hadn't shared the link with you. In the meantime, I'm looking up, where's Will? It's go live time.
Yeah, see, I thought you may have gotten confused. So guys, I'm not going to be around next week. So I thought maybe Steve thought I was on vacation today. I was like, all right, it's going to happen. I was literally, it's funny. I got a notification on my phone, Steve, that said, you can start if you want to. And I was like, I don't want to start this. I'm not ready for that. So, we only had a couple more minutes. And I was going to shut down us. So, but we made it, everybody. We made it.
We made it, and Here we are. So I'm going to run this little thing. We got a great team that helps put the show together. Here's the intro. So the Mindstate Marketing Hour, Will Leach, using behavioral psychology to be more effective at selling. Will, where did this topic pop in?
Hey.
Did you lose a sale recently? Is that
No, I haven't. So that's actually not well, we'll find out. I had a great call, and I'll talk about it a little bit today. I just had a great call this morning. But no, it was just kind of thinking about selling. And I think sometimes we focus so much on marketing. Well, the number one thing that marketing does is try to drive qualified people to buy. And so, I thought, we can use these sciences to actually help us become better salespeople. And I'm not going to do the normal, here are the 5 things you should know to trigger that sale. I'm going to talk to you about how it feels to be a salesperson and how to put yourself into the right mindset, the right kind of psychological space to be a more effective salesperson. Because Steve, I don't know if you know this or not, but I was really bad at selling. When I first started my company, I was terrible at selling because I never took that in consideration. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, right? I had a solution, I had a passion, and I just assumed that, like, you know what? Like, I have this great solution, just buy it. Like, I know I can help you. You should just buy this thing. And I came from, corporate America where, frankly, I either had a budget where I could pay for my own solution to help out my client, or I was assigned to them. So if they wanted to do anything in research, they had to use me. So I never had I never built the mental muscle to learn how to really understand somebody's, needs as a client. What are they focused on? Does your solution make the right sense? And so I struggled my first couple of years because I didn't want to be a salesperson. It's icky. I don't need to sell. If I just show you how smart my stuff is, you're going to want to buy. And I had a rough 2 years because of that. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to give you guys some hope that if you feel sleazy or yucky selling, you don't have to. And I'm going to give you a way of thinking about yourself when you go into any call or any kind of a sales process mode to kind of get your head in the right space so you can be effective and not feel sleazy and get the job done.
So this word sleazy gets slung around a bunch when talking about sales. I think it's one of the biggest fear of people even admitting they're a salesperson because of that car salesman stigma, right?
Absolutely. I think it comes from that.
I do. And I think it's because of this thing that says sales is a numbers game. So you can take a clumsy caveman, and if they ask enough people, they'll hit their numbers.
The numbers.
And so they're like forcing the thing. Just, it doesn't matter how many people you offend. One of them's going to buy. Just offend as many as possible so you have more buys. That's where the sleazy comes from. Ignoring behavioral science, ignoring the things that are going on with the human that's on the other side, not a number. That's on the other side. I love this topic.
Yeah, I love on this sleazy thing. I know there's a book, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but there was a study. It's early in the sales book, and there was a study and talked to thousands of people, and it had them rank their occupation to their feelings of like kind of self-worth. And the worst occupation was salespeople. Salespeople feel worse about themselves than even politicians do. And I don't know.
That's
There was
pretty bad.
It was real. It really was. It really was. It was like where like there's some people like who feel great about their occupation. They feel like they're inspired. And then salespeople, like you said, many times they don't want to say they're in sales because there's this ickiness feeling to it. And I think it's because they think either the numbers game or they're so focused on, getting the sale. Not even just getting enough prospects, but how do I convince this person to buy? And that doesn't feel good. None of us want to, pull and pull people into a position where they feel compelled or manipulated to buy. And so they have, it was honestly, I think it was the very lowest occupation where the people in that occupation had the lowest self-esteem about what they do. So that's why we're going to talk about it, because there's a lot of people out there just like I do. And even to this day, I still sometimes feel this way. I'm not a sales guy. That's not who I am. But guys, we're all salespeople. All of us. We're selling something, whether it's your talent to get promoted or whether it's, your solution that can help out somebody else. We're always, always, always selling. So you better be more comfortable with it.
Yeah, you better be good at it, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're running a business, you started a business.
Yeah.
You need to get good at it. Period.
You do.
So the art of selling is grounded in behavioral science.
That's right. So guys, like I said, I'm not naturally gifted, I guess, at selling. I never thought of myself as a salesperson, but I knew I needed help because I know the techniques. I mean, we could do consultative-based selling, or there's all sorts of different methodologies you can use out there, but it doesn't necessarily make you feel good about selling. If you don't feel good about selling and what you're doing, you're never going to be very effective. You'll know the right words to say, but there's energy. You know that, Steve. Like there's an energy about you when you're just saying the words and you're telling them how great your product is, or here are the 5 reasons why you should buy my product, that you're never going to be as effective unless you understand like kind of the science, the humanity of it. So I want you guys to know that there's a ton of behavioral science in good selling, like selling that makes you feel good because you're helping to solve people's problems. So I went to a company about a year and a half ago now. It's called Clients on Demand. What they do is they help companies scale. They help professional companies or coaches scale. And one of the big things about scaling, right, is it's not just building the technology and the infrastructure to be able to, build your business. It's teaching you how to be more comfortable with selling your ideas. Now, imagine if you're a coach and you're doing some kind of a weight loss coaching thing. Well, a lot of people just kind of don't necessarily feel comfortable with actually asking for, hey, does my product, does my coaching, is that important enough for you to buy? People don't feel comfortable with that. So they use this concept, and I love this. They use this idea called the doctor frame. And the doctor frame, if you think about it, will make your life so much easier if before you go into any conversation for sale, think of yourself as a doctor. So I want to keep coming back to this idea of be the doctor, be the doctor. And here's the idea. And I think it's brilliant in its simplicity. If you think you're a doctor, when somebody comes to you, like what do doctors do? You come into their office and what they do is they help diagnose. You're like, well, tell me what's going on in your life. Tell me what's happening. Where's the pain? And the doctor should be asking questions. They're not trying to sell you prescription right there. Like, hey, come in and say, doc, man, my heart's kind of hurting. Hey, I got a good foot ointment. I got this great foot ointment here. Let me just give you this. No, they diagnose. They ask you a couple more. Tell me about this heart pain. Tell me a little bit about when did it happen? What's happening in your life? How is it manifesting? So if you're a doctor, before the doctor ever prescribes anything, they're trying to help identify where your pain is, because in their mind they're thinking, do I have a solution? Because let's say if you have an issue with your heart and you went to a podiatrist, right? They know about ankles and feet and things like that. They're probably not qualified. So what the doctor's trying to do is figure out whether or not I have a solution that can help you. If you think of your job, whenever you get on any call, is to establish that you are in this doctor frame. All your job is to do is to diagnose what's happening and the impact that is happening on, or the impact that is having on their lives. It's a totally different way. You're not selling anything. You're trying to help this person to get a solution can help them. And it changes everything, guys. You're the doctor, you're diagnosing. And the second thing on that doctor frame it does, your job is you're an authority. Like you go to a doctor because they have authority. Like you don't come to Will Leach if you have heart issues, right? I don't know anything about heart issues. I don't know anything about that. So you're going to a doctor that people expect doctors to have authority, that they're the solutions providers. So if you establish yourself early as the doctor, I'm here to diagnose you, but you're also there because you're an expert, you're pre-qualified in this field, that it also gives you more confidence when you're having this conversation to control the conversation a little bit better and to ultimately provide a solution that's going to help them. So doctor frame. Before any call, start thinking about the doctor.
Be the doctor, but the other side is don't commit malpractice.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about that at the very end. That's
really?
step 4 is don't set up malpractice. That's exactly right. And we're going to
I
talk
love
about
it.
that.
All right. So step 1.
I know, guys. You're like, what? Listen, I'm telling you the first thing I do, and this is what I learned from Clients on Demand, this company, that lots of people do. You got to do a little bit of legwork. So just do 1 minute, just a minimum of 1 minute of prep work. And here's all I want you to do. First, I think it's really important to establish that, your energy matters in sales. And if you're having a bad day, it's kind of rough out there. If you come in to prospect and say, hey, Mike, so I guess you want to talk about, what's going on with your business. Mike doesn't feel very confident in you, right? Mike needs to know that you're interested in his business. So first thing I do is you got to get excited. And get excited, not for the sale. I think this is what makes us sleazy sometimes. If you're thinking about, this could be a big proposition, right? I swear I'm telling you guys, the other person on that call knows that energy. What you need to do is get excited about the prospect. That person is coming into your office, if you're the doctor, because they have a pain. Something's wrong in their life, and your job is to help diagnose what that is. You should get excited about that. You may have a solution that can actually better their lives. That's awesome. That's a great place to be. So what you got to try to do is do the 1 minute prep work and just get yourself excited. Like, man, somebody's calling you. Of all people, they're going to call you, or maybe you're calling them, but because you know that you may possibly have a solution that can better their lives. That should be exciting to you, not to sell anything. That's not your job. Your job is to help build a solution or create a solution that will better their lives. So like a doctor, I always say, like, your job is to help them grow their company. If you get in that mindset, you're going to be more excited because they're coming to you, and that's a pretty important, place to be in somebody's life when you can better their lives by helping them grow their company.
Yeah. I interviewed this guy on my podcast, Mike Boswell. He's wrote a couple of books, and I'm not remembering the title. Shame on me. But he said one day, never say, I know what you need. He says that's like the worst thing that you could ever tell a prospect.
Huh.
You're a doctor, you're diagnosing, but the last thing you need to do is say, I know what you need. He goes, try that on your spouse and see how that works out. Right?
Yeah.
And don't do that with your clients, because they're going to go, you don't know me. You don't know what I need.
Yeah.
But you do need to go ask questions. You need to diagnose and then help them imagine what your solution would look like in their situation.
I agree. And a part of that step 1 in that prep work is remembering, and I think this gets me excited, remembering that I have some qualities and I have some gifts and I have some talents and experiences that can help this person. Sometimes I think we forget how good we are. Have you ever done that? See, like sometimes you just need to go back and think to yourself before you have a conversation saying, I've been able to work with the top 1,000 brands, or I've been able to win this award, or something to remind yourself, and it puts you in a place of authority, like a doctor. It's almost like looking at that diploma and remember you went to, NYU or whatever. That stuff matters, because not only are you helping, you're trying to diagnose, you're trying to, like a doctor, you're trying to do some prep work, get yourself excited about this person, but remember that you are important in that whole process. So you got to remember you've done some great things. And we've talked about alter egos and things like that. When you don't feel confident, that's a whole other series of conversations we can have. But I do think it's important for that 1 minute, take 30 seconds to remember how good you really are. And guys, everybody out there, you have a God-given talent and you have experiences that nobody else has. And if you bring those to your forefront, you're going to be in a much better, like, emotional state to really get excited about this person's business. And they're going to feel that on the other end.
Establish. How do you say that word?
Oh, rapport. That's right. We're going to establish rapport.
Who's Rapport?
Who's Rapport? Yeah. So guys, so just I kind of like, let's say, so you get this person on the call, you start the Zoom call or whatever. The worst thing you can do is say, all right, so let me tell you a little bit about my business. Like that would be like if you went to a party and you're sitting here wandering around, and you're with your wife and you're at this like kind of a thing. You don't just go up and say, hey, let me tell you what I can sell you. Hey, I got something I can sell you. Nobody wants to be sold anything. So the power thing that you need to do in all conversation, I know time is limited. I know your customer's time is limited. You still have to figure out how to establish some sort of rapport. Why? Because your next job is to help people open up. So how do I establish rapport? A lot of times, here's what I'll do. I will look them up on LinkedIn and I'll take a look to see if there's any similarities, any experiences that they have that I could relate to. So one I talked about yesterday, I didn't use this one, but I was telling somebody else, is I looked to see what college they went to. And let's say they went to a college in the Southeastern Conference, SEC. I now know that we have something in common, which is kind of cool. So I don't have to necessarily bring that up, but I do know that we have something in common. One, why that's important is it gets me more excited to work with this person because we created an in-group. Remember, behavioral science is a big part of what we're talking about. We created an in-group with this person. Before I ever even talked to him, I knew we went to SEC. That's great. Like we're in the same conference, or maybe they worked at a company that I've done work with that company in the past. That's actually, I use that a lot. When I'll talk to a company, I say, God, I did work with you or your company like 4 years ago. That creates rapport. So you want to establish something out there that connects you in any way you can with that person. The last thing, if I can't say anything there, what I will do is I'll look up, especially if I have a telephone number, I'll look up the area code. And this probably doesn't help you all the time, but area codes generally are where people lived. That's where at some point in their cell phone, they lived in that place. They may not any longer, but they lived there at one time. So I'll look up their area code. And let's say if it's in the Dallas area code, I'm like, oh, I live in Dallas. Do you still live in Dallas? Or if it's West Palm Beach, like, oh, 315, I used to live in Miami. Anything you can do to establish some sort of a common bond. Why this is important. It's not fluff work, guys. I am telling you that your next job, being the doctor and to analyze the situation, you need to get people to be truthful and you need to get them to open up, which means they need to trust you. And the fastest way to establish trust is a common bond. Any kind of rapport, any kind of common bond you can form will help them open up to you. So do your best. And if you think that's one sentence, you're probably underdoing it. I don't think it's 30 minutes, but I think you have to start feeling good to where they feel like there's a connection between you two. And only then is the time when you say, well, let's now start talking about your business. That can be really uncomfortable when you have a 30-minute meeting. In fact, it just happened to me just before this meeting. Well, Steve, I was almost late as well, but I took 3 or 4 minutes out of a 30-minute meeting, which is a lot of time, honestly, to start asking. I was talking to the person on the other end of the Zoom call and asking, hey, are you working from home? Where do you live? And she's like, oh, I just actually moved from corporate headquarters to this other story. I said, oh my gosh. And she said, are you familiar with Detroit? No, but I have a really good friend that was. I just tried to establish a little bit of rapport with Detroit because that's where she lived. And I talked about how he loves Detroit. And it only took me 4 minutes, but it gave us some kind of a connection because the next, basically 25 minutes was me asking questions to try to figure out whether or not I could help her out or not.
One of the ways I like to connect with rapport is if you can relate to an experience they're having. They're looking for a solution. That's why they're talking to you. Yeah. There's some experience that they're having that you have been through, and that's why you bring your solution, right? So it's like if I was talking to someone else that produces live streams with their clients like this, then I'd be able to go, hey, Will, you remember that time that you were all ready to go and you weren't paying attention and it was time to go live? And they would giggle, but immediately you're going, I'm in your shoes. I know what you're doing. I've made mistakes.
Yeah.
Like that. That's a great way to connect with rapport.
I love what you said. I've made mistakes. In fact, I was just reading a book yesterday about that. And there is, if you want to build or establish rapport, basically trust, they say one of the fastest things you can do is to discuss one of your mistakes, because everyone's been there. And if you're open enough to talk about your mistakes, they're going to feel more open to talk about their mistakes. There's a common bond. We all screw up, and that creates great rapport. It's one of the top things you can do is being open. That's why we talk about being human all the time, right, Steve? Like, be open where, oh my God, I remember that time where we're basically a minute left and Will still wasn't on the call, right? We have a minute before we go airtime or whatever. Those things matter. Those things matter.
All right. So help them see their heaven and hell.
All right, guys. So another thing that Clients on Demand does is, and these are their terms or whatever, but the idea here is when you're uncovering, kind of the needs of your client or whoever's on the other end, you don't want to just go into, well, tell me the situation. And okay, so how many quantities are you looking to, include? Like, those are important questions to ask, but much later. The first thing you need to do when you establish rapport, or after you establish rapport, is now say, okay, so tell me a little bit about what's going on in your life, what's happening in the business, and let them talk. But what you want to do first is establish, and you want to uncover their aspirational goal. Meaning, where do they want to be in the future? We talk about it in my book from a communications point of view. Like, you always want to understand somebody's aspirations, because that's where behavior goes towards anybody's aspirations. So what you have to do is uncover what is their aspirational goal? Like, what is the upside, and what's the thing that they're really hoping to achieve if they were to buy from you? So what I do is I don't go right into hell. So that's heaven. Aspirational goal is, tell me about the good things that happen. I don't go to hell first. I go to heaven first. I say, so tell me a little bit about what's going on with your business. Like, where are you today? And tell me about where you're trying to get to. Focus them on the heaven. Just literally happened today in this meeting I was telling you about. So establish a little bit of rapport, talking about Detroit. Then from there, I said, all right, so gosh, it looks like you're on this one brand, right? We talked about it and go, so you must be so excited about being on this brand. Now she goes, actually, I just started this brand. She just started. I'm like, oh yeah, but it's such a growing category. Like, it's going to be really great it's going to be so great for your career, right? She started going, I am kind of excited about it. And she said, since I'm just starting, like she just started, my sense was maybe 2 weeks ago. She said, I have this, she didn't use the word aspirational goal. She goes, I think I get a chance to make a big impact on the future strategy. I'm like, that's what I wanted to hear, Steve. She's thinking from herself, I get the opportunity to make a big impact on this up and coming brand. You would know it. This up and coming brand that's growing crazy. I get to make an impact. I was like, there it is. That's her aspiration. I know now that she wants to do something, one, big, because she wants to make a big impact. Two, she wants to be innovative. She wants to establish herself brand new into this space, brand new onto this brand, to kind of establish herself. Like, I brought this to our entire brand team. I was like, this is great. So I first established she wants to make a big impact on a growing brand, and that this thing is going to help drive the strategy for the next couple of years. And it's around communications. Awesome. I love that. Now I said, well, tell me, and here's where we go to the hell side of it. Tell me where you are now. There is a reason why you're on a phone call. It's not because they're in heaven and then they just want to get a little bit better. That's generally not what happens. People have an aspiration. They want to grow their business. They want to scale their business. They want to put on a podcast. But right now I'm doing nothing, or I have no list. I have no social media presence. Nobody knows who I am. You got to get into the hell. Establish heaven. They say, tell me where you're at. And then she starts telling me, well, here's what we know. We did a bunch of fast research, but nothing really in depth. Nobody really understands exactly what it's telling us. And the person who did the research left. Okay. So she's sitting on a bunch of research reports that aren't telling the brand what to do. She wants to make a big difference. So then I said, okay, so tell me how is that impacted? So I know her hell. She's in a hell where she has a couple of research reports. She doesn't understand them. The person who did that research is gone. She doesn't know what the theory was behind it. Why do we even do this stuff? But the brand now is starting to say, listen, we have to reposition our brand, or we think we do. We want to reposition our brand. We need help from you. So they're going to her asking for help. So she feels some tension, right? The brand team's like, make sense of this world. We got a bunch of research reports. We don't know what to do. And then she says, and the hard thing is, by the end of next month, which would be end of April, we need to have this thing all locked and loaded. There's this deadline to do some repositioning. So now I know she's sitting on a bunch of research reports. Her hell is she's being asked a lot of questions she can't answer. She didn't even know some real basic questions, like some very basic questions, like who buys your brand? She's like, I don't know yet. She's feeling nervous. I know that's her hell. She's being forced by the brand to come up with some big solutions really fast. Now I have hell is where she is today. Heaven is where she can make a big impact. That's where you want to be. Before I even talked about my company, we didn't even talk about the company and what our methodologies, what my solution is. None of that came up. I just have to figure out what does she need to what her heaven is, what her hell is. And now the next stage is really, can I bridge the two?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
yeah. So you've identified your hero, so to speak.
oh, I like that. Yep.
Yeah. And what oftentimes the trap in sales, the thing that can feel icky is if you know this, what you just discovered is real important, then you race in with a solution that doesn't take her into consideration. And so by acknowledging, you know what, I think we can set you up to be a winner here. That's the bridge that you're about to talk about.
I love that, and that's a very good point, guys. And we say this a lot, but you got to hear what Steve just said. Your customer is always, always, always the hero in their story. She is the hero. We are not coming in to save her. Heroes don't need savings. Heroes need tools. They need guidance. They need help, but they don't need saving. So maybe to your point, like I know exactly what you need or what you had said, Steve, that doesn't, heroes don't need to hear that. Heroes need to have tools, resources, things like that, and guidance really, I think is what it is. So when I say bridge heaven and hell, if you can, and I think that's really important because there are times when your solution does not fit. And I know, guys, I've been there. I've been in times where I really needed that sale. Like I've been in times where I haven't been able to make payroll, and that's really scary. And I could have figured it out. Maybe I could have done okay, but that's not fair to your clients. It is not fair when they really need help for you to say that you can help them get to heaven. You have the tools, you have the experiences, you have the resources to get them to heaven. If you don't, that's not fair to them. It's going to set you up for failure. It's going to set them up for failure. And in today's world with social media, it does not take long before if you overpromise and you can't deliver, you underdeliver, your brand will tank. It's not like how it used to be in the 80s where, people went to the BBB, the Better Business Bureau, to figure out whether or not you're a legit business. Today, they can look you up like that, and you have reputability scores all over the place. So your first decision is, as a doctor, I've just listened to the hell you're in, all the pains that you have. I know where you want to go. I know what heaven is. I know what you want to look for in the future. I know how you want to feel in the future. Am I the right doctor? And that's, if you're a podiatrist, then you shouldn't be doing heart surgery, right? If you're a pediatrician, you shouldn't be working in cancer, right? So you have to be the right doctor. Now, hopefully you are the right doctor, but first you better make that decision. And if you're not the right doctor, if you're not the right thing, the best thing you can do for your establishment, for your reputation, for you not to feel sleazy in sales, and for you to actually help this person out, is tell them the truth. Hey, gosh, and maybe you don't do it on that call because I've waited to, because I've tried to figure it out. But you got to get back to them quickly and say, I was thinking about it. I don't think I'm the right person for you, but I'm going to do something for you. I'm going to go, quickly ask a friend that if they know somebody, go to your media network, go to your network to see if there's a solution. I am telling you, you're the person other than when you tell them that you're not the right solution, but you're going to go, just take one little step. Say, I'm going to go see if I can't find somebody. I think I know somebody who could help you out. That makes a huge difference. I've had 4 major clients come to me and said, it was because I told them I was the truth, that I wasn't right, that they wanted to understand what I was good for in the future. And out of those 4, 2 of them came back with major projects saying, I'm so glad you told me exactly what you're a good fit for, because when I heard that, I knew exactly who to go to. I didn't have to do the uncover stuff. I knew exactly where you fit. Works out really well. So you have to be able to understand whether or not you can bridge. And if you can, I got one more step for you. If you are the right solution.
That courage of saying, you know what, I don't think I'm your right person, is very attractive. It builds rapport, and it's like it helps them feel safe, and they'll take recommendations or introductions, and that's huge.
Or Steve, have you ever been in a situation where you said, I'm not right for this. This is what I do. And then they actually said, I need that too. Has that ever happened to you? That's happened to me a few times where their hell, they told me about a hell they thought they're in, but then actually when they heard what I had, they're like, oh, I have that hell as well. Like, oh, I can help you there. Like, that's awesome. I'm going to come back to you. Or actually I've had that where just by saying that, because you establish this trust, they start thinking about like, but you know what? I think I could use Will over here. So that's actually happened to me before. It does pay off. It pays off. And you're not going to feel sleazy. A doctor is not thinking in his mind, what kind of drug can I sell this person to take? Doctors don't do that. They're just saying, here's my treatment plan for you. And there is a drug, maybe there's a drug, maybe there's not, maybe it's physical therapy, but you can't think of yourself as selling a drug. You need to be better in your customer. And that could mean go to another doctor, and they're going to remember you for that. So I was going to say on this last thing, to bridge heaven to hell, let's say now, if you are a great solution, the next thing you need to do is basically restate their story, because you just had a conversation for 20, 25 minutes. What you need to do is reestablish that they've been heard. You say this a lot, actually, Steve. You have to make sure that people feel heard. How do you do that? Restate the story. Say, so let me see if I just got this right. So here's right here. Sounds like you're new to this. So you're going to start with the hell probably first. So now you want to go hell and then heaven. Before it was understand heaven, then understand hell. Now you want to restate hell and then heaven. There's a real behavioral reason why for that. So what you do is you say, so it sounds like you're new to your organization. You don't have a bunch of research studies that are here, but nobody's really making a lot of, they don't make a lot of sense. It sounds like you're getting a lot of pressure from the brand team because you have a big meeting coming up in about 2 months and they're looking for an answer. So what you want to do, sounds like, is you want to make this big impact. You want to come back with a solution. Let me tell you how I can help. So you just restated their hell. Then you said how there's a heaven and how you can bridge that heaven to hell, right? Or hell to heaven, I guess is a better way to think about it. So when you do that, now all of a sudden they sound heard. And the last thing you're talking about is how you're going to get them closer to heaven, right? And so there's this concept in behavioral economics called, it's not sunk cost fallacy. It is, I can't believe it. I can't believe I don't remember it. It's from Dan Kahneman. It's the idea that people remember the last part of an experience. Mm-hmm. And most of the time they mostly remember the last part of that experience. So when you state a story, they remember the conclusion. That conclusion was, here's how I can help you. That's why you want to start with hell and then go to heaven. Restate their problem. And then from there, you can start talking about, let's now start talking about the requirements that you're looking for. You can talk more about your business. You have not really talked about your business that much up until this point. For the first 25 minutes, you're just talking about them. They're the hero. Talk about them. Then I have a solution for you. Now just spend 5 minutes talking about the overall high level solution. And then if they have questions, you can go into detail or say, you know what, why don't I get a proposal together for you? Now you've established that trust. You have the rapport. You're going to be in a much better place to serve them.
Agreed. That's they need to see a plan, but they don't trust your plan until they trust you.
Until they trust you.
So everything that you've done, let's recap here, that, the art of selling is grounded in behavioral science. It feels icky if you're just clumsy caveman trying to make your quota. Yeah. So by doing a minute prep work, establishing the rapport by helping them know that you get them and understand them, you help them see their heaven, and you confirm their version of hell with them, then they can start to trust you to see the bridge from the situation they're in to the aspirational outcome of her being, in this case, the hero that can really impact the future of an exciting brand.
Last thing I'll just tell you guys is the best thing that got me around this ickiness of feeling like I'm a salesperson is the doctor frame. If there's one thing you take away, you're a doctor. That's all you are. And if you can just put yourself as the doctor, you're in a position of authority because you know what you're talking about, and your job is to uncover their problems and really try to, hopefully you're going to have a treatment plan. It's the best thing going. You don't feel icky when you're on a call like that. You just feel like you're going to help this person get to a better place.
Do people call you the doctor on the dance floor, Will?
That's Dr. J. Oh, he's dancing. There he is.
It's time to watch Will dance. It's that part of the show everybody loves. All right. So we got these questions. We ask Will. People send these in. They're excellent questions. If you've got a question you're dying to ask Will, other than what he uses on his hair, that stuff, if it's about Mindstate marketing, this is an example of a great question. So what makes Mindstate marketing different than regular marketing, Will?
Yeah, I think this is a very easy one. So Mindstate marketing is, first, it starts off the base where people are making emotional decisions and rational decisions. So subconscious and conscious decisions, we call them system 1 versus system 2 decisions. What Mindstate marketing does is it takes into account that you are under different mind states throughout the day. Therefore, you should message differently to somebody depending on how they're feeling in that moment. So regular marketing tends to find somebody as a persona or a segment, and let's go talk to that segment the same way, in a unique way, hopefully, in a compelling way, but let's talk to that segment in the same way. Mindstate marketing recognizes the fact that you're in different states of mind throughout the day. Therefore, you have to understand the state of mind somebody's in when they're considering your product or service or whatever. So it's based in behavioral science, grounded in behavioral science, on four social sciences: goal theory, motivational psychology, regulatory fit theory, and behavioral economics. When you bring those things together, it helps you understand what drives emotional reaction to your creative, and more importantly, what to do differently in your creative to kind of activate that emotional arousal that you want to get your customers to kind of listen, care, and act.
Excellent. That's the scientist's description of what I would say.
Yeah.
Mind state marketing helps you connect better with your clients because you don't have a one size fits all marketing. So that's what the
Yep.
street version of
That's
that.
right.
Great, Will. So how is behavioral marketing used in politics?
Yeah. Wow. We're in the political world right now. So there are two ways, I think. The first way that kind of behavioral marketing is used in politics is specifically for campaigns. So even before we elect officials, behavioral science is being used a lot more in not only identifying core, core policy issues to focus on your messaging, but also how to kind of communicate in a way that it creates more engagement with your base, with your party base, right? So it's being used, a lot of behavioral marketing is being used to rally your political base so that they'll actually elect you. And like I would say, almost every major politician even at the county level and above is going to have some level of behavioral science in their campaign strategy. They may not know it, but it's happening. The second thing I think it helps you do, or how it's being used in politics, is actually policy framing. So, policy is really abstract for most people. I don't really understand these laws. I don't really understand a lot about how it impacts my life. So here's how it's sometimes used. Where politicians or campaign strategists or whatever will take a policy, and to create public support for it, they'll use behavioral marketing to frame it up. The classic one I always remember is by Frank Luntz. He's a Republican strategist. He's on like CNN sometimes, or Fox. I don't know. He's on these things. And he came up with the term the death tax, which is some people call it the estate tax. The other side is calling it something, the estate tax. And estate tax is framing up like, hey, if you have a multi-million-dollar estate and you die, some of that tax or some of that value should be taxed to the government, right? That's a policy framing, estate tax. Frank Luntz came in and said, that's a death tax. Like after you die, you're still being taxed. Same law, guys, right? But the way you frame it up using behavioral marketing creates support, or it creates kind of division, or people who hate that law. So that's how it's used. It's policy framing, just even something as small as an estate tax versus a death tax. That's how behavioral marketing helps create more momentum and more kind of votes for different policies.
He's dancing, folks. He knows what he's talking about. How do you think psychological marketing can be used to improve brand loyalty?
Yeah. So if you're in the brand loyalty space, I like to first say that I don't really believe in brand loyalty a whole lot anymore. It's really, really tough to create brand loyalty in today's world, where there's so many competitors, so many advertisements, so many ways to distract you. That being said, loyalty does exist. I just think it's very, very difficult. All loyalty really is creating enough positive associations, psychological associations, between your brand and a positive feeling or an outcome. That's all it is. That's all loyalty is. Ultimately, every experience, everything that comes to mind when I think about your brand are positive. And if the more positive of these kind of associations, the more loyal I'll be with you. Where behavioral marketing works in that is, how do you create positive associations with your brand? Behavioral science, behavioral psychology helps you create those associations. It's understanding what are those positive associations to create. And more importantly for you, if you're a marketer, is what are the words, what are the phrases, what are the visuals that you need to break through all the other advertisements that are out there? Something called availability. You have to create availability so that when I see that advertisement, it's communicating to me in such a way that's building a positive association with me. That's all behavioral marketing is honestly for loyalty. It's getting breakthrough, and then it's going to create that positive association.
Excellent. Well,
There you go.
I always enjoy these shows. You know, you've been listening to Will. We're going to turn the music up now.
There you go.
There we go. You've been listening to Will. He's obviously knows his stuff. He's a scientist that you can relate to. But did you know that you could have a session with Will to investigate your particular challenge you're wanting to solve? Will,
That's right.
tell us about that.
I do. So what I found is that sometimes behavioral science seems so complex, and do I even know if it's right for me? Remember that doctor frame we just talked about? Here's what I'm going to do. We have these breakthrough sessions where you can go to my website, mindstategroup.com, and you can actually, these big red boxes all over there says, is schedule a breakthrough session. Click on that box. It's going to take you to a calendar. And it's going to show you my calendar and where you can fit into my calendar. What that'll do is create a 30-minute meeting, maybe a 60-minute meeting, depending on how long you want it to go. And we're going to just sit down and have a conversation about where you are today and how we can possibly use behavioral science to get you to a better place. These calls are free. You can take that advice I give you and go off and do some amazing things. Or you may want to explore maybe a program that we have, a training program or a partnership program that we can work with you to kind of advantage your brand, to get your brand to a better place. So just sign up for one of these breakthrough calls and we'll have a quick free session just to explore how behavioral science can better your brand.
So you're going to wear a stethoscope in these conversations, Will?
I sometimes, if I have to establish that trust, I'll do it.
I'll
put on hair if I need to, whatever it takes.
Where is your leather jacket today?
I know it's hidden. I had it on yesterday. It's hidden today. I came unprepared. I have my little black one on today. My Under Armour. Yeah.
Disappointed King Louis II or Louis II didn't pop in.
I know, me too. He was on a call just before you when I was saying I was on that call. He was on this call. He bit a couple of my pens and took them off my desk. So I think he hit a few of them. I have to go find them now.
All right. You've been watching us on. Did you know we have a podcast now on any station that you enjoy listening to podcasts? Be sure to subscribe and share. Same on YouTube. If you like to watch instead of listen, then you can see our smiling faces on the Mindstate channel on this. Will, great show. So next week, everybody, we're giving you some time off. I know you'll miss us, but look, go get the book, read the book, and show up, and all the stuff will even make more sense. We appreciate you. Be sure to like, send your cards, tell your friends. Will, have a great. Where are you going on vacation, by the way?
I'm going to is it Taos? I think it's called Taos, New Mexico. Yeah. Just spent a couple of days over in Taos. It'd be good.
All right. Have a little green chili stew.
Do that.
Yep. All right, kids. We'll see you later.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week. See you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.